Hi, everybody. Long time no see. Kate, how you doing today?
Hi, super. It's good to be here. This weekend, I dressed up as a rodent of unusual size, and I must say, it was more comfortable than this, but this is more fabulous, obviously.
Obviously, clearly. Well, yeah. This is about as fabulous as I've looked in 22 months. So.
You look great.
And it still fit, which is the major miracle. So, last demo of the day, last live demo of the day. We've gone through Interfirm. We showed you the exciting work that we're doing with Cloud9 and with StreetLinks. We've talked about our wealth space, where we highlighted, obviously, our integrations with WhatsApp and chat platforms, but obviously our new Zoom integration. Now we're going to talk more operations. And for us, and no one, I don't think, in this room is going to disagree with this, this is probably the most underserved of all of these markets. It's the space in a bank or even in a small fund where they're behind on the digital transformation. And they're the ones that are trying to catch up and trying to harness some of these new technologies. And we're not there yet. And we're trying to very much help them do that. So for us, as we think about everything we've talked about so far today in terms of connecting workflows, connecting systems, connecting people, connecting data, this is at the heart of what operations professionals do all day, every day. So we're really excited to be able to help them do this and help drive that workflow into the sort of the next era. But Kate's the real expert here, so I'm going to hand it over to Kate to talk us a little more about what we're working on.
Awesome,
Kate?
Thank you. It's been quite a year. I'm sure you feel the same. What I've really enjoyed is working with you, our customers and our partners. We've brought to life our operations strategy and have some really tangible innovations to show you today. This past year has led us to 5 operations focus areas. The first is client onboarding, which is near and dear to my heart. The second is security settlements. So think CSDR and accelerated settlement cycle. The third is security services with focus on corporate actions and NAV oversight. Loans, what a behemoth. And of course, tying it all together is identity and authentication of people, bots, and applications. It's such a key industry problem, and we are tackling it at Symphony through our enhanced directory and acquisition of StreetLinks. And this is just the beginning. Before we go into the demos, I'd like to touch on a few things. As you know, operations is one of the most fundamentally important parts of a financial institution's structure. Aside from you moneymakers, of course, we are money savers. And due to the lack of allocated budgets for deep digital transformation, these critical roles face 3 main challenges. 1, they work in siloed and disparate systems. 2, pre- and post-trade transaction processes are fragmented. And 3, they lack consistent or have multiple communication methods. Historically, operations stakeholders used various systems to stitch together entity and transaction data required for these processes. And when a problem arises, what does one do? They send an email, they pick up the phone. Some of us even still use faxes.
For the millennials in the audience, I just have to take a moment. A fax you put a paper in over here, and it gets to me over there.
Yeah.
So.
Exactly. That's good. That's good.
Here all day, literally.
And whatever the method, you then wait hours for resolution while our peers in the front office chase us down for updates. And because of these challenges, we've seen some really great innovations come through the pipe. Some of these innovative tech companies are actually our newest partners, and you would have seen them in recent press announcements, including Sapphire, AccessFintech, and Uncork. Themes these partners centered around are democratizing data for quicker onboarding and then using that data across the lifecycle. AccessFintech built a distributed network to allow the 3 participants in a transaction to communicate more effectively with one view of data. And our latest partner, which you would have seen the announcement last week, enables the digitization of missing layers in workflows And this brings down siloed barriers for process improvement by replacing traditional development methods. And at Symphony, we remove friction across the life cycle, whether it's up front, in the middle, or at the end.
Awesome. So as we go into the demo portion, everything that you're going to see today, well, actually, take that back. One of the core capabilities of what you're going to see today is powered by what we call the Secure Event Service, or SES, because the world needed more acronyms. But the Secure Event Service is what enables us to help our partners and our customers inject content or data into a Symphony context, i.e. a room, a chat, and bring in the right people to solve or discuss around that problem. So it's really what I like to call it's almost like an orchestration layer that allows our platform partners to pull in their customer, another customer around a trade break, a new issue, a piece of research, whatever it might be, but we can orchestrate these workflows so that we can connect the digitalized processes, the automated processes, into the human component, whether that's escalation, collaboration, ideation, whatever that might be. Really enabling that cross-platform interop, which we talked a lot about today, with the key thing for us is the customer retains that control and is able to, in the end, pull that trigger when they need to have that moment. So with that being said, I'm going to get off for a few minutes and let Kate bring on our partner and our customer to talk a little bit more about this.
Thank you.
I'll be back.
Awesome.
Sorry.
Please join me in welcoming Adam Watson, Global Custody Product Management at BNY Mellon, and Damian Canning, EVP Industry Relations, AccessFintech. Our three organizations are a perfect example of interoperability. Three firms bringing together our unique assets to be interoperable for the benefit of our mutual customers, who are custodians, buy sides, and sell sides. And as Adam likes to say, three legs of a stool, because two legs of a stool wobble.
Hey, come on.
Come on, you got to get it
And
right.
three legs
How many times have
never
we rehearsed
wobble.
this?
I can't get it right, but that's why you're here. How did I do?
My grandfather was a carpenter for 35 years, and he once told me, Adam, a three-legged stool never falls over because it never wobbles, but a two-legged stool will always fall over. And I've told Kate that probably 15 times, and every time she gets it wrong.
It's not sticking. Well, it's great to have you guys here. Damo, tell us a bit about what AccessFintech does, why it was built, and what it solves.
I think you just did it. It was a great job.
Thank you.
AccessFintech really has become, over the last 5 years, a Synergy Network, as it's now known, has really become the industry data lake for exceptions. We managed to normalize and publish exceptions to our data lake, which then our clients, which are prime brokers, custodians, executing brokers, can then interact with and build standardized workflows to solve those problems and collaborate between them. And working with Synergy, we've really brought those two networks together to enable self-service and collaboration, which is what we're here today to talk about.
Thank you. Adam, we've been working together for a while now and share a lot of dreams and aspirations, one of which is to bring the industry together to create a channel for real-time collaboration using golden source data. Give us some insights on BNY Mellon's vision for innovation in the operational space.
Sure. Firstly, I think it's important to acknowledge when you blend matching cultures together that have a desire to innovate. I think that's hugely powerful. And when I think of the Bank of New York strategy around creating that concept of a digital ecosystem, it is really one of a strategy of kind of internal collaboration and innovation where it makes sense, and then external collaboration and innovation where it kind of adds value both to ourselves and our clients. And I think, obviously, this includes both of your organizations, and we've spoken about this a number of times, right? And you always get the analogy wrong, but when you think about a three-legged stool and using and leveraging the likes of AccessFintech and Symphony as kind of the base to that stool, but bringing together your buy side, your sell side, your middle office custodian together and giving that kind of stability in data, I think is hugely powerful. And then obviously where we can take that is greatly important. So what we're about to see and what we're going to demo on is really that kind of isolation of exceptions and removing the time latency and how long it takes for a buy side client or a sell side client to get to a point where they're already communicating about that exception and the resolution of that exception. So really isolating super fast and going from there.
Awesome. I can't be good at everything, so I'll give you that analogy. Okay, so why don't we not drag this out anymore and get into the demo? So if Levon, would you mind pulling up the AccessFintech screen? Awesome, here it is.
Thanks, Levon. What you can see here is you can see a centralized UI where we would provide exceptions that are coming from custodians, from buy sides, from sell sides into a single place. And you would have that as a UI here.
And so in this, just to clarify for the audience, in this instance, we're acting as the buy-side client in this kind of ecosystem, so to give context.
Okay, Levon, you ready?
Levon is our beautiful assistant.
It's his big moment. What should we do? Should we pick out CSDR? That's really relevant and topical. Let's open up that the exception. And you'll see here, you'll be presented with all the exceptions, and then the danger zone is the top right-hand corner. So why don't we pick one of the risky ones and open up a Symphony chat.
You mentioned risk, which I think is an important word, right? When you take the AccessFintech technology and kind of the pairing and exception isolation concept to fruition, what you get then is you get the ability through obviously what these guys do is to take that CSDR penalty and calculate a potential impact, and then that allows you, to Damien's point of risk, is to isolate the transactions that are particularly risky versus other transactions that might be failing.
So once an issue is discovered, what analysts do now is going to happen in real time. They would usually pick up the phone or send an email. But what we've done here is given the user the ability to spin up a chat room. The exception details are brought in automatically, and the partner is connected to the Symphony enhanced directory, so you don't need to go and find who the user is. It comes in automatically. Exception details don't have to be put in manually, and you can start typing to resolve the incident. So you're creating transparency. There's no manual keying. It's all literally just time saving. So you see now the team is interacting and they're going back and forth.
So I think one of the benefits that we've got here, right, is, you know, to tap onto what Mike said earlier about faxes. I always use stats with clients that the fax technology was invented in 1843 and we're still using it today. And when I think of a second technology that we're kind of using today in a different format is the Rolodex, right? And the Rolodex was first sold in 1956, and we've replaced them from our desks. But in reality, on an operational perspective, and having grown up in operations, when a trade fail happens, sometimes there is that default to individual people or to group inboxes, and that adds latency and a time delay in getting to a point where you're actually talking about the resolution of those exceptions versus just trying to figure out where the right place to go is. So what Levon's showing you now is that functionality through the grouping of saying, okay, so we do the pair, or AccessFintech does that pairing technology in the AccessFintech environment, and then allows that operational user on the buy side in this example to understand who is the right person to communicate those exceptions with and get to a point where they're talking about resolution much faster than historically we've seen through emails and phone conversations. Yeah,
exactly. And I think, we can talk about CSDR, but the audit trail that you can now have is hugely important, right?
Yeah.
If you're going from phones to emails and name it faxes, it's difficult to have an audit trail. So having a centralized place.
I think what's important here for me, speaking selfishly as the custodial side, right, is in this example, we've got a buy-side client talking with a sell-side to understand the exception, the resolution, but that's at day one, right? Through the SES technology, how we can start to interoperate between bilateral conversations or create multilateral conversations in Symphony. Not only does it allow us to talk about the exceptions and ultimately what's going to resolve those exceptions, but fundamentally it gets us to a point where we're starting to connect sub-custodians, securities depositories, lending agents. There's all kinds of participants that we can connect through the SES technology that Symphony's got to really, back to my original point, is create this digital ecosystem that allows kind of democratization of data, and we're going to talk about this in the panel in a bit, but allows us to get to a point where we're not focusing on where the exception is in the process, but we're talking about the resolution of the exception and instruction of that resolution, and then ultimately we're getting to a point of settlement finality, and obviously all the benefits that come with that from an operational perspective.
And as you can see on the screen, the team has resolved this issue in real time. And so exactly what you said, Adam, Secure Event Service is a gateway for channel communication across partners and customers. The overlay of this is our enhanced directory with the ability to find the right group to speak with in real time. All Symphony partners and customers can access SES and our enhanced directory, and we will continue to expand these capabilities with our customers and our partners using more complex use cases. This, you saw, was a bilateral room, but the goal is to continue to expand and add additional layers. And for BNY Mellon and AccessFintech, our missions and visions are aligned with you.
And metaphors.
Yeah, and jokes.
And exactly. We laugh a lot. We did great here, by the way. We didn't mess up at all.
You put two Brits on a stage. That's a dangerous position to be in.
The tall one's behind me.
Yeah. Good looking in the tall one.
Cheers for being interoperable, and I'm going to fist pump you off the stage.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
Thanks,
Thanks, guys.
everyone. Thanks.
How'd we do?
Great.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Really great. Really great. All exciting stuff. And what, for me, we're going to say the interoperable word or the connectivity word again, but just showing how we can seamlessly connect across these ecosystems for our operations users especially is so critical in this world of 17 different systems that all do some flavor of the same kind of thing. So to bring us home into the last piece of this demo, you saw Kate C. had a conversation with a group. I think it was the ABC executing broker on screen. And you heard the word group here a little bit, but what this is actually a major new capability that we have as part of a growing suite of services around identity that we're producing here at Symphony. And what that's supposed to do is help solve for the real life workflow of enabling teams to talk to teams. And we know that these workflows exist across the market. You don't reach out to Kate on the operations desk or the settlements desk. You need to reach out to that desk. You may reach out to the research team with a question. And right now, the chat world has never really been able to solve this problem. So we see this as a major opportunity for Symphony to bring that kind of group-to-group collaboration and issue resolution into the benefits of real-time synchronous conversation so that we can get these questions solved faster. And what we're really talking about here is the ability to affirm, much like you saw with the model that Gary talked about with StreetLinks, where a firm owns their groups. They create their groups either manually if they want or via APIs that we give them to create these groups. These groups can be either free-form, just a name, or actually structured with a set of taxonomy-based tags aligned with market functions and asset classes, et cetera. Then the market can consume these groups, again, either via the Symphony UI, which Kate will go through, finding these groups and searching and starting a conversation, or, as you saw with the AccessFintech demo, being able to actually integrate those directly into platform partners so that they can immediately create a workflow with the right group at the right time around the right data. So really following our approach to identity, which is very much decentralized ownership. The firm provides their information about their users and structures it, but centralized discovery, enabling our customers to find that so that we can get away from a world of the Rolodex, but instead bring into a centralized directory system powered by identity. But enough of me again. Kate, take us away.
Let's see the demo.
Let's do it.
Min, would you mind pulling up the UI? Perfect. Okay, so let's set the stage. Imagine you're an analyst in ops on the buy side. And you are responsible for settling trades. And you realize you have a price issue and you need to find the right contact at the executing broker. The trade, for context, is a European equity, so think CSDR. So what do? Typically, you type an email and then you use your Outlook contacts to search for the right distribution list to find the right person or group. The biggest challenge you face is typically navigating a large sell-side or custodian institution. You maintain manual lists. Sometimes you create your own because of who's been helpful. It's onerous and it's time-consuming. What we've done at Symphony is given our customers the ability to add your groups into Symphony and then use them and allow them to be searchable using specific and standardized attributes. Our first use case is set ahead of CSDR, as Mike mentioned earlier. And actually, Mike, you and I talk a lot about current workflows and how much of it happens in email.
Yeah, and I think, we talk a lot about email in this space, and it's always something it's easy to talk about. And I think for me, email is so successful because it's the lowest common denominator. Everybody has email. Everybody knows how to use email. Everyone's on email. But we all know that email is not purpose-built, especially for this kind of real-time problem resolution that is so critical to every part of our market. And with operations, I think, especially, we're at that turning point with CSDR, with increased scrutiny of how quickly and how accurate things get resolved. Email's going to always have a role, and we should acknowledge that the important role that email plays, but we need to uplift the user workflow into places where they can actually problem solve without that. And a lot of those problems may not even involve a chat. It could be system to system where a lot of these problems get resolved, but when you need that fast collaboration problem solving workflow, we want to enable Symphony and our users to find it and do it best on our platform.
Perfect. Yes. Let's have a look at the demo. So if you go ahead, Min, and search for, or use the search functionality and type in the group. In this case, we actually know who the executing broker group distribution list is. So we'll type NCG CIB EMEA. Okay, perfect. So you see that he's found it very quickly. We do have another option for you to search. It's our advanced search. You would click on the Shift Enter, and then you would go in, you would scroll down, and then you would type in your specific attributes based on the type of security, the type of group that you were looking for, and then you would find the information. So he's typing in, great, he's typing in EMEA, and now he's found the NCG group, which is down at the bottom, and he's going to click chat. Okay, perfect. So he's pulled up the name, and we're going to start a conversation with the NCG CIB EMEA settlements team. Okay, perfect. So what we've done here is created transparency between two groups. So you have the buy side on the one side, and you have the executing broker on the other. If you can go ahead and make the group visible, Min. Perfect. So the individual who sent the email is the buy-side institution, and they started typing and sending a notification to the sell-side organization, which is here. And you'll see that they show the group name there, but they don't actually have the individual names available. We've done that to create anonymity for our customers. And so on this side, which you have the executing broker, you actually see the individuals that are part of that team. This gives the group who's responding to the message the ability to know who's part of their team, obviously, but then who's actually picked up that case and started reviewing it. So now they're going to go back and forth and have a conversation about what needs to be done as it relates to this price difference. And yeah, so Mike, what do you think? What do you think of the screens and what's going on here?
I think it's, obviously, I think it's great. But, I think what's clear here is you see, on the left-hand side, or sorry, on your right-hand side, you see Rahul can see that he is a part of that group and that he's got his colleagues, but the team is preserving that capability so that their customer has a unified view. And for desks where coverage varies by region, by time zone, by day of the week, this is critical to enable the seamless flow of markets, and where you're not trying to figure out, oh, do I talk to Dave right now or do I talk to Kate? You can know that that group is there, and you can solve your problem by reaching out to it. And this use case is operations, research, internal help desk capabilities. We have a number of customers that are going to use it for that kind of workflow. So there are a lot of use cases for this. We're obviously showing in the operations light today.
Yeah, and this usually happens over email. Like I said earlier, you're maintaining a number of different distribution lists. This happens very quickly and in real time. So think real-time collaboration, real-time resolution. And so 3 things to remember that I think are super important, Mike, are that groups are available on the Symphony platform now for our customers and also through our partner applications. And to date, the use case that we've built is for CSDR, but we'll continue to build these use cases. And of course, the call to action for the audience is to get your groups into Symphony.
Awesome. So, to wrap this up and to kind of move on to the panel that's going to come up here, we showed you the secure event service, injecting real-time data or content or workflow into Symphony at the right time with the right people at the right place. We have Symphony groups connecting that, and we can enable this fully identity-based workflow across platforms in this nature. Now, if I talk a little bit about going forward, and what we've shown you is very much real, tangible, live, again, but where we go from here is we've used the word interoperable a lot. I think there's a bingo game going on somewhere in the background. Where we go from there is from interoperable to embeddable. And then take that Symphony workflow, which today requires that chair swivel that I call from my, my settlement system over to my chat platform. We've removed it with what we've done with Cloud9, where I can be in Symphony and go to Cloud9. What we want to enable is our partners and our customers to much more deeply embed Symphony into their products. So you could imagine this workflow happening in AccessFintech, and actually the conversation also happening in AccessFintech, powered by the workflow and security and identity capabilities of Symphony, but in the context of our customer and partner workflow. So more to come on that next year, but hopefully that's exciting for you. I'm done for the day, but I'd love to talk with any of you who are here to have a conversation later. Our best ideas come from deep understanding and partnership with our customers, and I look forward to that, and I look forward to the rest of the sessions and Kate's panel coming up.
Thank you.
So, mic out. Thank you all very much.
All right, everyone. Okay, that was fun. So now I am very excited to introduce our next group of panelists. I'm actually really excited that we have such a diverse group of institutions on the stage. So raise your hands for our guests. First is Rochelle Hardy-Blunt, Global Head of Trade Operations at BlackRock. Adam Watson, Global Product Management, again, from BNY Mellon. Dina Masterpalo-Harris, Global Head of Fixed Income Middle Office and Client Strategy, Citi Markets. And last but not least, Fred Crosnier, Global Head of Operations, JP Morgan Asset Management. Thank you all for being on stage. What a wild ride it's been over the last year and a half. The pandemic has taught us all so much. I actually feel like it energized us to really dig deep and figure out how we can work better together. So think connectivity, interoperability, flexibility. They are no longer nice to haves, they are must haves, and they are being demanded by our customers and also our workforce. So before we get into trends, challenges, and innovations for operations teams, I'd love for you all to tell the audience a little bit about yourselves, maybe a fun fact or two. We do want this to be like the favorite panel of the session.
No pressure.
No pressure?
Yeah.
So Rochelle, why don't we start with you?
Absolutely. And before I get into me, I just have to say, we had a friendly conversation about who would be the best dressed on the panel.
Fred won.
And I think Kate won. I think Dina and I are second, tied, and you guys are third and fourth.
I think the ladies won.
Only Fred has a pocket square, though.
Oh, the
It was the first time we were doing something in person again in a while, so I was like, I had to dust off all the old wardrobes.
I think you guys did
Still
great.
fits.
All right.
I think you did
I'm with
great.
Mike, though. My suit pants didn't fit. That's why the jeans are on.
I knew this would spark conversation. So hello, everyone. I'm Rochelle Hardy-Blunt. I'm Global Head of Trade Operations at BlackRock. I've been at BlackRock for 18 years. Fun fact about me, I have three wonderful children. I have two who are currently freshmen in college. They both play Division I basketball. My son is at Quinnipiac University, look him up, Bernie Blunt. And my daughter's at Detroit Mercy University, Taylor Blunt. So pretty exciting times for me. A lot of fun stuff coming my way.
And hello, everyone. I'm Dina Mastropaula-Harris. I work at Citibank. I have been there for 12 years. I run the fixed income middle office globally, along with operational client relationship management. And I have a really fun fact. I'm a huge music fan. I've been to over 200 Bruce Springsteen shows.
Wow, that's
Just
impressive.
Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band.
That's big.
No, not just, I've been to a lot of
I've never
shows,
been
but-
to any Bruce Springsteen.
Well, yeah, you don't know what you're missing.
I didn't know who he was until I moved to America.
Well, now that you're a U.S. citizen, maybe you will go to one
stole
or
my
two.
fun fact.
That should have been a question before you.
I'm Adam Watson, Global Custody Product Manager at Bank of New York. I've been there for just under a year. Before that, 14 years at JP Morgan. Interesting fact about me, actually, I'll pick on Harry if he's still here from Zoom. Harry talked about the fact that Zoom allowed people to normalize head sizes in Zoom. But what it did was it disenfranchised people it stopped people understanding height. So I am at a lofty 6'7", and now we're going back to some form of in-person meetings. I think the resounding comment is, wait, did I know you were a giant? So Zoom has helped some people and has hindered others. So that's probably an interesting fact. And the fact that I'm a newly minted American.
It hasn't helped me because people think I'm taller, but I'm not, guys.
I did notice you weren't on a stool.
I can't say the analogy, so I can't have a stool. And last but not least, again, so Fred, interesting fact about you that I will share, and then you could elaborate on it, is that you have been on both the Symphony and the AccessFintech board.
Yeah, that's right. First of all, it's so exciting to be back in person at Innovate. Last time was 2 years ago, and clearly this event is a must-do, and we're so happy to be back here in person. And yes, I had the privilege and the pleasure to sit on the board of both AccessFintech and Symphony. Again, it's amazing what we can do if we collaborate, and bringing the power of industry professionals together has delivered amazing solutions that you've seen here, and we're going to see so much more coming.
Yeah.
And I would say, back to an early comment today about, operations being on the back end of innovation, not that sure about that, actually. I think we've done quite a few things, and that has actually shown also to front office that there's some level of collaboration can really achieve great things. So,
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Thanks for making that point.
Yeah.
So we had a prep session last week, and I had all of these questions, and I was trying to have a structured panel, and what I realized was that this group doesn't need structure because they're so informed and so intelligent, and so I will kick off with a question or two and then let the group go, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. So why don't we start, Rochelle, with you. We talk a lot about interoperability, connectivity, and flexibility to bring people, applications, and bots together for collaboration. And this is very similar to your thought process, and obviously we talked to Lou and Isla about this very much. What does interoperability mean to you and your organization, and what has it looked like up to now?
Absolutely, good question. So when I think of interoperability, I think about people, process, and platform, as well as collaboration, communication, and connectivity. So from my perspective, when you think about people, it's not just about my team. It's about internal partners within the firm. It's also about our external partners, our custodians, brokers, prime brokers, fund admins, et cetera. A very important process to the ecosystem, right? And when we talk about process, we talk about an end-to-end workflow, typically where STP is 100%. We all know that there's those corner cases where you get that break in STP. And when you get that break in STP, it's important to have an agreed upon process with your partners to really look at the end-to-end, right? And from my perspective, when I think about that, I think about, all right, I have a break. What's my best way to solve it? Historically, it's been emails, phone calls. It's time to bring our exception management process into the 21st century. It's time to let the systems do what they do, right? It's time to let them connect and really start speaking to each other so we can resolve breaks. So when I think about process, I think about how I can partner with my external partners and really think about that collaborative space where we can really bring our exception management into the 21st century. Secure event service is a great opportunity there. And then we think about platform. Again, people, process, and platform go hand in hand. How can we make our ecosystems sort of migrate, talk to each other, and really make sure we come to the table with a shared effort? So for me, interoperability is all about group hug. It's being together. It's saying to ourselves that in order for us to make sure we're driving for the same goal, right? Golden source of data, a high level of exception management, a high level of STP, zero touch. We need that connectivity across the industry.
Thank you. I like group hugs. Along the same lines and based on our discussions, we know BNY Mellon is an open architecture organization.
We're not huggers, though. Not yet. We're not ready yet.
Tell us more about your view of interoperability.
Yeah, I mean, look, when Kate talks about the prep session, the reason that she wasn't concerned about this was because within about 5 or 10 minutes, we realized the four of us were all speaking the same language, singing off the same hymn sheet, and there really wasn't a need to structure questions because of the fact that we all kind of
I don't have any questions,
song.
so I'm relying on you.
Look, it's exactly the same, right? When I think of the Bank of New York strategy, and I touched on this in the AccessFintech demo, it's about internal innovation and collaboration where it makes sense, and external collaboration and innovation where it adds value both to ourselves and our clients, right? And we talk a lot about the move away from a reactive custodial model to a proactive custodial model, and that could be leveraging machine learning or artificial intelligence to predict when things are going to happen and prevent them ultimately happening. It could be partnership with AccessFintechs of this world and different fintech solutions. And I think that really spans across the organization, both myself on the asset servicing side, but really across the whole of Bank of New York. We talk about our omni strategy and this concept of open modular, open architecture technology. And ultimately, it's a view of, we see ourselves in a pivotal position to help kind of procure and orchestrate that digital, typically digital or hopefully digital ecosystem that allows, our clients and our third parties to kind of come and collaborate in a digital environment. And we talk about interoperability, and I should start trademarking these phrases, but we talk a lot internally, it's me specifically, about this concept of allowing my clients to stay native in their tech of choice while I stay native in mine. And you only achieve that through interoperability, through collaboration. And me and Fred were talking in the prep session around now is the time for big organizations and smaller organizations alike, and fintechs and startups and tech firms to all come together. And we talked about this earlier, right, with Rochelle, is the only way we can achieve utopia and our collective goal in settlement finality and golden source data and democratization of data is really by collaborating together and not trying to necessarily solve solutions in our silo. It's just not the way that the industry's going.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We've got one clap.
Like that? We can clap? Let's clap.
Yes.
Is it because of our outfits or what Adam said?
For context, with the newly American citizen, I'm wearing my American socks, I'm wearing red, blue and white, and Kate's wearing red. So we did somewhat coordinate.
Can I add something to that, Kate? I just want to say that Lou Rosado and I, we have long conversations about how we can, utilize the tech that's out there, utilize the tech that's within house to really come to a collaborative effort on golden source of data, exception management, and really just a common space of collaboration. So I just have to put that out there because whenever I have an issue, I go to like the Isla Eckhoffs and the Lou Rosados. They're great mentors for me, and they've played an instrumental role in the operations space at one point at BlackRock. So, they're always kind of thinking above, especially Lou. He's always thinking above the curve, and it's always about, all right, let's think about the tools that we can leverage. We use AccessFintech in-house for certain things. We use Symphony for certain things. So now how can we connect those tools and really take it to the next level? So
I think Mike touched on it earlier. He talked about an appropriate level of friction. And this idea that when, I'll pick on Lou as an example because he's not here to defend himself, when Lou comes to me and says, Adam, I've got a problem, the answer isn't always I'll go away and do it. Sometimes there is a level of friction that you can come to a common understanding by working together and collaborating rather than, we talk about you can't provide a cookie cutter solution anymore to clients. There isn't a one size fits all to every problem. And it might be AccessFintech for loans and CSDR, and it might be something else for something else. But ultimately, it's a great time to be in the service provider space because we see ourselves in that pivotal role as kind of that orchestrator and collaborator and facilitator of the interoperability between that ecosystem. So I think it's hugely important, and coming from an operational background, it's great to be in a position where I can help drive that forward.
Fred, do you want to add a point?
I was just going to say on the solving the solution at the industry level that Adam was going to. I think we've tried to do that so many times in the past. I think we've been successful in cases, not very successful in others. But it feels like we're such in a different place now because of the overall ecosystem and again, the partnership between financial institutions and now fintechs in particular has allowed to really democratize a little bit how we think about solutions. And it's not necessarily what we were doing like maybe 10, 15 years ago, which is, hey, we need to build a consortium and create a new company and in order to create that collaboration, because otherwise nobody's going to agree to do anything between the banks. That is kind of gone because now we've really democratized the data, democratized the process through things like AccessFintech and others. And we are now working together and solving in a much more commercial way than we've done it before. And I think there's just a tremendous amount of potential acceleration here that we got to seize that moment. And I think this panel is great because, yeah, like you said, Adam, when we did the prep, we right away totally agree on all the concept and how we're going to solve issues going forward. And I think this is just a representation, a segment of what the industry looks like now. And I think there's so much more potential out there. And it's a really exciting time, to be honest.
That's a great segue. Dina, if I can add interoperability, there isn't one size fits all for all customers. Everyone is using a different protocol. So from your lens as a broker-dealer, how do you work with your customers to ensure that interoperability exists between their system and yours, and why is that impactful?
So I think it starts with understanding your customer and your customer needs, and just having great dialogue. Also having robust metrics in-house to understand where the pain points are, basically, in the life cycle of a trade, and really coming together as an industry to resolve those issues. There's a couple of things we've embarked on a lot. We only have a half hour, so I'll just talk about the latest thing we've done around in the asset servicing space. We've been matching fix for the last couple of years in a lot of different processes post-trade, either through a vendor, a third party, or direct. And we just went live on interest payments in the asset servicing space, as I said. And that was a complete manual process, 0 STP. So in 1 month, we saw 0 STP to 65% automation. And it used to take us about 5 to 7 days to make one of these payments. And now we make it on payment date or the following day. So, and that's just a month or two old. So we want to continue to build upon that sort of stuff.
Wow. Fred, did you want to say something about APIs and?
Yeah, I mean, this is something that was always, maybe a utopic dream of mine. I had discussed with David Gurley and then Brad, being closely involved with Symphony since the beginning, was always the concept of seeing Symphony as a huge industry API. So can you, Dina and others, if they want to use Fix, I want to use something else in terms of protocol, or we have our own built-in workflow, they have their own built-in workflow. The limitation today is that they don't talk to one another, right? So we revert back to email, or in the case now we actually made progress, we revert back to Symphony and we can start exchanging data through chat in Symphony. You can put that even further and through the usage of bots and API connectivity through Symphony, why can't you connect workflow directly to one another and exchange that workflow item without necessarily having to look at a chat screen or something? It's just purely message connectivity. And I think this is just a technical build that will need to happen, but those type of company, those type of technology really allow us to think even completely differently about how to solve problem in the future. This is just an example, but we'll make it happen.
It goes back to that previous point, right, of allowing clients to stay native in their tech of choice, and that's a channel agnostic delivery approach, as well as a physical application, whilst also allowing yourself to stay native in your tech of choice. Like, we will all make our chat choices, we'll all make our email and our exception management platforms, but it's how you allow them to interoperate and communicate with each other is going to be hugely important.
Yeah, and you know, one thing that we always had a debate on between buy side, sell side, and I've been on both sides, is you build a website or a web app for a client, and the client be like, great, that's great, but I don't want to use one app per brokers that I have, etc. So I do aggregate that. You can build app, for example, and use it within the context of Symphony, and so suddenly they have just one place to go. It's within Symphony or something, it's within AccessFintech, etc. Again, there is very different way to think about collaboration now that we have those the technology available.
We've heard loud and clear from like our buy side, our big clients, that they don't want individual portals from 12 different brokers, leveraging AccessFintech and partnering with Symphony. I mean, that's the ultimate way to go.
Yeah, I mean, today we receive files and spreadsheets through email from our brokers, from our custodian. So bringing that together is completely inefficient, risky, and again, sometimes difficult to think like, okay, well, can I impose to all my custodian and all my brokers and all my fund admin the same technology protocol? Well, yeah, I could, or I could be more realistic and provide a flexible interface by which they can provide that. And for me, I just have one place to go. We provide the flexibility on the other hand. Everybody wins.
Yeah. We heard about it in the World session earlier, right? Mike was talking about this concept that the modern investors don't use email unless it's your uncle that's sending you a cheesy joke, or they don't, they're not receiving phone calls. People don't remember. I don't even remember my parents' phone number anymore, and it was ingrained in me as a kid, right? And I think that's transcending to a workforce that isn't accepting no as an answer. So when I joined the finance industry 15 years ago, it was a T3 settlement market, and there were certain markets that were dumping markets, and you had DKs and returns from all kinds of stuff. Whereas now, the modern investors and the young talents coming out of the collegiate system in America or globally into a workforce is not standing for that. Why can't we do T1 settlement? Why can't we do T0 settlement? And what's inhibiting us to get there? And to a certain extent, data is at the core of that, right? And interoperability between platforms and not forcing everybody to default back to scribing an email and sending it to Fred so that he can respond back to me in email. I think that's where we need to get to, and obviously that's where we're all singing from the same hymn sheet.
Yeah, and I would agree. I think it's time for change. It's time for us to change our mindset. The way we collaborate, a shared space, is the future. And for me, if I can come in and open up my laptop or open up my desktop and I can see the collaboration going on, that's one less phone call, that's one less email I have to make, right? The machines are doing the talking. Yes, you'll have people behind that, but if the machines can solve it, let the machines solve it. We just need to have a view on what's going on. So I think it's time for change.
We talked about this earlier, Rochelle and myself, around this concept of there's a solution, a root cause, and a problem statement. And we sometimes jump straight to a solution before we've truly understood the root cause and the problem statement. Mm-hmm. And we often say internally at Bank of New York around, it's a matter of investing in technology to power our people. That's both our people and our client from people perspective, but it's not putting technology in a solution where there isn't a problem statement, right? It's about technology to power people.
Yeah.
So what is important, Rochelle, to you in 2022 with budget season underway? What are things that you're asking your technology partners in the Aladdin product group for?
Sure. So if we think about 2020 and also 2021, operations focused a lot on the data. So we're a data-driven, agnostic part of transaction management at BlackRock, and we focused a lot on the data. It gave us an objective view on where we needed to focus our automation roadmap. One thing it also told us is that, hey, it's time for real-time settlement. It's time to get these messages in. It's time to get these messages in a collaborative space where we can work with our partners on exception management on top day. So into 2022, I will be putting a major focus on transforming our exception management process. And a lot of work still needs to be done, but I'm partnering with the likes of Lou Rosado, to really come to the table with our technology team to really show them the benefit of some of the technology that's out there that we can partner with and hopefully get our exception management process to the 21st century. So exception management is key, right? It's being able to have a process where you don't have a ton of people on it, but it's still efficient, right? using tools that we can bring into the ecosystem so we can collaborate in a shared space together to make sure that we're all working towards the same goal.
Thank you. And Dina, you've shared some incredible statistics, and you've done a lot of work in creating more interoperability and streamlining processes. What's important to you going into 2022?
I mean, a lot of what Rochelle said, anywhere where we can build upon STP, reduce risk, and we're going through a big data transformation at my firm. So money is going to go towards any of those, and then most of all to improve our client experience. So that is, if you come up with some good things you can automate, working with our clients and our technology and our external partners, money will go there. As long as we're following transformation of data, getting data better, reducing STP, which reduces risk, and then improving the client experience. That's where our dollars are going.
Awesome. Do either of you want to take that question, or should I ask another one of the ones I have in my pocket?
No, that's fine. I'm happy to share for us. I think we have what I feel is a true cultural change within JP Morgan Asset Management in terms of how we think about technology investment. And it's not just like, what is the ops budget, what is the marketing budget, what is the investment platform budget, et cetera, but more about, well, what is the initiatives or the investment we want to make in our business, and how do we solution them front to back? So that has been a really powerful cultural shift for us, and really looking at those initiatives, and this is how we're going to actually resolve and fund them and solve them. And we've seen in the media, we've had a few key areas where we're looking to make a strong investment, whether it's our private market in alternative, whether it's our retail SMA, just to name a few. And so we're looking at those, and we're looking front to back, okay, what investment we're going to make in the business, what investment we're going to make in operation, so that we can really build a first-class business. So really that strong partnership's been very critical for us.
And we're also, we're live in the distributed ledger aspect of things with Exoni. We're live with total return, single name equity swaps. And, we look to continue to build and put investments towards that.
Great. So we have time for one more question, and we all agree that interoperability is key. And you can have, I think you said this the other day, you can have the best technology, but if you don't bring it together across institutions to collaborate, you'll always have gaps. So what would you say to those individuals who aren't singing from our hymn sheet, which is work together?
What I would just say is we're only as good as our weakest link. So in that case, I can individually build the most efficient platform, the most efficient process. If my counterparty is not efficient, I get zero. That's as simple as that. So we have to think about how we bring people along, and I think it takes people like people we have on this panel to really work with our client, work with our partners, work with our custodian, work with our fund, everybody, really think about the entire ecosystem and how to bring together the solution that we would otherwise try to solve by ourselves, and really make sure that everybody understands the power of solving it once for all, and we're all going to get the benefit. And when it comes to funding of technology, that makes it even better, because we start mutualizing those costs. So again, we all win.
No, that's a good one. And I would say a shared vision is always better than a single vision. When I think about coming in, just working in a silo, how much can I really get done? Not much. So what I would say is, take a look at the technology that's out there, take a look at your internal technologies, and partner with your internal partners as well as external partners. Have a conversation. Let's all talk about it and come up to a shared solution on how we move forward.
Definitely, picking up the phone, with our stakeholders in the industry, bringing awareness to some of the processes that are not ideal. It's just key to events like this. You hear things. It's a great networking, and it brings a lot of transparency around what's going on. I think that's all important, in addition to what everybody else just said.
Yeah, look, I think for us, right, we'll always internally innovate. We'll always look to use data at our core to provide analytics and more powerful, predictive tools to get ahead of exceptions before they happen. But then to the rest of the panel's point, it's about understanding where you can't, to Fred's point, where you can't solve a problem alone, and collaborating with technology solutions in the industry, and whether that's AccessFintech or, Sapphire you mentioned earlier from an account onboarding perspective, this concept of creating a golden copy data much, much faster to allow you to understand the exceptions in the ecosystem and resolve those, provides you settlement finality, it allows you to open markets faster, it allows you to do all that stuff that you just expect to work in the background in a much more effective way. So I think from the Bank of New York's perspective, it's a heavy investment in internal innovation and then external collaboration where it's appropriate.
Awesome, thank you. I couldn't have asked for a better panel and a more informative time. So thank you, I really appreciate it. Thank you for your continued partnership, and I hope you all help me thank everyone for being here.
Thank you.